My name is Cory Bazinet. I was a sergeant in the United States Army Infantry with the 82nd Airborne Division. I served from January 2001 to January 2005. I was deployed to Afghanistan in 2003 and Iraq in 2004. I am part of an unofficial but growing movement of veterans who support Ron Paul for President in 2012. We are encouraging veterans who are already supporters to make videos like this one and tell the country why they are supporting Ron Paul for President. I support Ron Paul for President for the same reasons I supported him in 2008. He is the only candidate on either side that is promising to end the wars immediately. He is not beating around the bush like the other candidates do when they say things like, "I will make a determination based on what the commanders tell me are the conditions on the ground and when we should begin to bring our troops home." Well, statements like that only serve to tell the military-industrial complex that these politicians are on their side, that they understand that the profits made from militarism are more important than lives being wasted needlessly. And you know what the situation on the ground is? That people are dying in horrific ways. Now, Ron Paul's reason for ending the war is not based on some extreme right-wing isolationism that is now being touted by some political commentators out there in the blogosphere and on the internet and certain publications, but rather it's his desire for peace. He speaks ad nauseum about this. He wants to be friends with other nations, talk to them, negotiate with them, trade with them. He doesn't believe that we can bring democracy to foreign lands by the barrel of a gun, but rather by setting a good example of being a peaceful nation and treating others with dignity and respect. Now, what is isolationist about that?
Let me see if I get this right. We need to borrow $10 billion from China, and then we give it to Musharraf, who's a military dictator who overthrew an elected government, and then we go to war, we lose all these lives promoting democracy in Iraq. I mean, what's going on here?
Another reason I support Ron Paul for president is his fight against corporatism. Corporatism in warfare, corporatism in healthcare, corporatism in our schools, corporatism in our money, corporatism at all levels of society. He may be a free marketer, but that does not make him a corporatist. He stands up against federal subsidies and this relationship that the government has with big businesses, that if they get into trouble, we'll just give them money so they can get out of trouble. And screw it, because the little guy will pay for it through inflation. Well, that's the kind of sinister activity that goes on at the higher levels, stuff that's way above the rest of us. And we end up paying the bill. Now he says this kind of stuff distorts the market, which of course he's right. Just imagine if you're a small business owner, how much better your business's bottom line would look if you got a nice fat check from the government every month just because they liked you, because you had a lobbyist that took them out to dinner once a week, or took them to the golf course for a nice round of 18 and a dinner afterwards, or treated their kids and family to a vacation or some toys, just so you could write the regulations just a little bit in your favor, just a tad. Just give us some loopholes so that our attorneys that we have, that the little guy doesn't have, can figure out a way to get around paying for taxes. Wouldn't that be great if we all had that advantage?
Yes, I think this is not a consequence of free markets. What's happening is there's transfer of wealth from the poor and the middle class to the wealthy. This comes about because of a monetary system that we have. When you inflate a currency or destroy a currency, the middle class gets wiped out. So the people who get to use the money first, which is created by the Federal Reserve System, benefit. So the money gravitates to the banks and to Wall Street. So that's why you have more billionaires than ever before. Today, this country is in the middle of a recession for a lot of people. Michigan knows about it. Poor people know about it. The middle class knows about it. Wall Street doesn't know about it. Washington, D.C. doesn't know about it. But it's because of the monetary system and the excessive spending. As long as we live beyond our means, we are destined to live beneath our means. And we have lived beyond our means because we are financing a foreign policy that is so extravagant and beyond what we can control, as well as the spending spending here at home, and we're depending on the creation of money out of thin air, which is nothing more than debasement of the currency. It's counterfeit, and it is a natural, predictable consequence that you're going to have people benefit from it and other people suffer. So if you want a healthy economy, you have to study monetary theory and figure out why it is that we're suffering. And everybody doesn't suffer equally, or this wouldn't be so bad. It's always the poor people, those on retired incomes, that suffer the most. But the politicians and those who get to use the money first, like the military-industrial complex, they make a lot of money and they benefit from it.
Ron Paul's message stretches across party lines. So therefore, our movement needs to as well. Now, for example, Ron Paul recently introduced a bill. It's H.R. 778. Introduced it in the House. It's to authorize the interstate traffic of unpasteurized milk and milk products that are packaged for direct human consumption. Now, this may not seem like a big thing, but the federal government recently raided an Amish farmer because he sold raw milk across a state line to willing consumers. Are we really satisfied with a federal government that wants to tell you not to drink raw milk? Now, taking up this cause is definitely not a conservative issue. You know, you're not going to hear Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh crying about how the feds raided an Amish farmer for selling raw milk. But this is definitely one that interests more traditionally progressive-minded people. However, our friends on the left have some very valid concerns about Ron Paul. And I think it's important to speak to them about this, because we cannot get Ron Paul the nomination by the libertarian support that he has now, and some of the Democrats and independents that have come over. We really need that grassroots movement that progressives are capable of producing. And I believe this with everything. But they have their issues with his social views. And, you know, specifically abortion, welfarism. You know, I don't know that I agree totally with Ron Paul on abortion, his absolutist stance, especially when it comes to things like, you know, rape and incest and things like that. I mean, if a woman is raped and she becomes pregnant from that, I have a hard time saying that it's completely illegal for her to have an abortion and get rid of that, the baby. I mean, I don't know. That's a fine line, but that's the problem with the abortion argument. But I think those issues, while important, are far less important than the biggest ones, which of course are our ongoing wars and the handouts to big corporations, and of course the printing of money that has no value. By the time it gets to us, causes inflation. We pay higher prices, which is a hidden tax for the benefit of big corporations getting useful dollars. So I asked my friends on the left to look at it this way. Now, here's a guy who does not like social welfare programs because of his interpretation of the Constitution, which tells him that there is no authority within that document for the federal government to provide these services. Now, it's a principled stance. But he's the only politician that's saying a couple things. End the war, and take that money and bring it back home, and put it into those programs to shore them up. Stop handing out federal subsidies to big businesses in the form of corporate welfare, bailouts, and all that stuff, and take that money and put it into these programs to help shore them up, so that we don't throw people out on the street that have become dependent on the system, that we take care of those that we've made promises to. I mean, I really think that is reaching across the aisle. That's building a consensus. That, to me, is important. So the bottom line, Ron Paul is against warfare, corporatism, corporate welfare, subsidies for big business. And to those concerned with his policy views, his social policy views, first, I ask you, please don't believe everything you read on the internet or in certain publications. I think you should get on YouTube and just watch some of his floor speeches, or some of his other speeches, and see for yourself. He's not the monster that these gatekeepers want you to think he is. And second, the president cannot unilaterally end Social Security or welfare or outlaw abortion. And I don't know that outlawing abortion would happen anyways. I mean, we have a conservative Supreme Court right now and it hasn't happened. And that was a big fear during the election of 2000 and 2004. You know, Bush was going to pack the courts with conservatives and they would overturn abortion. But, you know, it hasn't happened. Not to say it won't. But I think it's really a fear that's unfounded at this point. So, I ask you to reconsider on this basis. Imagine, if you will, a presidency for 4 years where the American people are fed a healthy diet of foreign policy truth. Not this flag-waving, Toby Keith version that the power structure wants us to believe now, but rather an honest look at what we do around the world and how it affects our relationship with it. Imagine how that could change hearts and minds, both here and abroad. Imagine how different the world would look if we stopped poking people in the back with an M16.